So today I thought I'd quickly show you my tomato production line. So I sowed these tomatoes back in 6 weeks ago, I think. So I think just basically at the beginning of February, and they're looking pretty good now. They're really at the point, I think, where they've got to be potted on or planted out, and I haven't really got any bigger pots than this, so I think I'm going to plant them out. I'm going to put some of them into these hanging baskets, so it looked like that one over there, and some of them into these big pots. So the way I like to do it is just like to fill the hanging basket up and put a pot in that's the same size obviously as this pot, and firm it all down really nicely, and then just ease that pot out like that. And then hopefully when we turn this out, not only will it go perfectly into that space, I do put a little bit of compost down the bottom there, but we'll have a lovely root system on here. Now actually, when I did this last year, I grew in some really dodgy compost, and well, I didn't choose it. I didn't choose dodgy compost to grow it in. I bought really nice compost, but it turned out to be really dodgy. And when I turned these pots out, instead of that beautiful root system there, I basically just had compost, black compost. So I was not very happy about that, as you can imagine. The plants didn't really ever recover fully, but I did get a little bit of a harvest off them. So 6 weeks old, and it's now the 20th of March rather, and I'm going to put these up here, hopefully so I can kind of duck underneath them. But we have got a little bit of cold weather on the horizon, so I'm just going to leave them kind of scattered around this greenhouse for the first week, so I can just easily fleece them. But I am heating this greenhouse. I'm going to heat it to about 11 degrees centigrade, maybe a little bit more than that, but that's kind of like the lowest level at night, and that should be plenty for good fruit set, because there's not a lot of point growing early tomatoes if you don't get good fruit set. So these are just in flower now, just starting, loads and loads of flowers on them, so I'm quite excited for this harvest. So I'll carry on with this and I'll bring you back when I've finished. So I did just want to talk very briefly about watering. I did water the pots before I turned them out and planted them, so there's no need to water these tomatoes now for a while. The compost is moist but not wet, so what I want is those tomatoes to go seeking moisture in the surrounding compost. And so I won't water them for probably 3 or 4 days, and by then actually there'll be roots going all the way through the compost, you know, probably like this sort of size or something like that. They grow incredibly quickly, but if you oversaturate the compost, then they don't need to go seeking moisture, and obviously the roots don't like being in saturated compost either. So there we go, I'm surrounded by hanging baskets with tomatoes and strawberries in them. This is a production line video though, so I just want to talk about how I'm proceeding with my tomatoes over time. So as I said, these are 6 weeks old. I should be harvesting these, I think, in May, and maybe even towards the end of April actually. You'll see how it goes. There is enough sunlight in April. Actually, April is a very sunny month typically. There isn't enough heat at night, and so you do need to heat the greenhouse if you want a good harvest. What I find though is that these tomatoes will kind of run out of steam after about 6 to 8 weeks of harvesting, and so I'll take them out and just compost them at that point. These ones in the tub should carry on, but I've got my next batch of hanging basket tomatoes which actually will go in tubs, and they have just broken surface. So as I say, it's the 20th of March right now, and they've just broken surface, which means they should be ready in about 6 weeks time. So they should be ready in about the middle of May, early May to middle of May. That is just about the right time to go in an unheated polytunnel for me, because we'll still have quite a few frosts, so I'll have to protect those with fleece. But generally speaking, about the middle of May is starting to get to the time when I can put tomatoes out. I won't actually start my cordon tomatoes for a few weeks, and they'll grow slower. I'll probably put those out towards the end of May, which is when I can kind of pretty much guarantee that I'm getting good nighttime temperatures as well as obviously great daytime temperatures. So that is pretty much my production line, apart from the fact that probably sort of July, August time, I'll start some more of these. Let's say we start them at the beginning of August, and they'll be about ready. They'll be at this sort of stage by early September, middle of September, something like that. And so again, there's plenty of light in September to ripen tomatoes, but there again, there isn't enough heat in October, so I probably have to heat this greenhouse a little bit more at that point if I want to keep on harvesting. So yeah, that's my tomato production line. It's going pretty well.